And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, I really, really like that intro. It's so cool that 100% I'm not the one that did it. That was great. Great. What's up, brother? How's it going, man?
Another day in paradise, as they say, brother.
Another day in paradise. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, how's everyone doing? Let's say hello to a few of you just to start off with. We're not going to do a gray man prepping on this one and go 45 minutes just saying hello, okay? We're going to try to confine it to a few minutes. Forrest, what's up? Forrest, I don't know what you won, Forrest, but you're always winning something. Let's see. Jan, how you doing, Jan? Good to see you. Let's see. Somewhere in Nevada, Yarn Preppers in the house, A9. Hey, do you all like this time? We're going to probably keep it to this day and this time during the week. Let us know how you like it. Give me a number 1 if we're coming in loud and clear. All right. Diana, 2, how are you doing? Surviving behind Liberal Alliance. Good to see you. I'm getting a 1 from Copernicus. Thank you. Cramsay, good. Fistbomb Smith. Sarah Tar. Roses in the house. Stewart's prepping. Weight loss prepper. That's definitely not me. Let's see. Mickey and Angel, how are you doing? From Humboldt County, California. From Houston, Texas, we have the marked one. Welcome. JT is in the house. Hello. Jen Mama 3. Little Lone Prepper. And okay, we're getting a whole bunch of number 1s, Gray. Looking good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I want to go ahead and inform you all that after the live stream is over, a couple of things are going to happen. I will more than likely put chapters on this live stream starting tomorrow morning. And more than likely, Gray is probably going to do, correct me if I'm wrong, Gray, but more than likely, Gray is probably going to do what I did with the last live stream. That way it can be seen on his channel as well. And he'll do whatever little bits of editing he wants to do to it in order for it to conform to his style. All right. So if you're watching this now and you don't have time to watch through the whole thing, you can recatch it tomorrow with chapters and I recommend that you go over to Gray and support him also. This is what it's all about. So us supporting each other, ladies and gentlemen, within our community. And having said that, Gray, take it away, man. This is your show.
It's our show. So yeah, in regards to what you were saying, I was thinking about basically once I download the stream is condensing it, kind of your old school meat and potatoes, how you do it on your channel, and condensing the stream, cutting it up a little bit. And I was actually, I was thinking of either doing a premiere and letting folks, interact with each other on a Sunday evening.
Yeah.
And people could, talk amongst themselves if that's okay. If not, I might just do a video, because what I wanted to do is so that people can see that Sunday and get ready for Monday's new live stream. You know what I mean? So that's what I think about, because I can just let it run. Because Sunday, for me, I'm usually busy with the family and whatnot. So I was like, well, maybe I could put on Sunday evenings when people kind of relax. They come back from church, they have dinner, and they're like, hey, man, there's nothing really on. I'm going to go watch that live stream, pick up a couple key moments since it's a condensed version of it. And there might be other folks there that they can chat with while that live stream is going. Unfortunately, I won't be there if I do a premiere, because it is the only day that I have for family. But I figure some of the other folks out there might want to interact with one another. So I've been pondering it and kicking around in my head if I want to do the premiere or just run a video. So.
Well, it's up to you, brother. Whatever works for you. That's what it's about, man, right? Caribbean House is in the house. How you doing, Caribbean House? Good to see you.
A lot of good folks here.
So what's going on today, man? Hey, we need to come up with some kind of a saying like "Welcome to the Apocalypse," right? We need to do. I was watching our last live stream, Gray, and we did not do enough fear mongering. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the apocalypse. How's that sound? Hey, great. Let me go ahead and promote my earlier video from today, because I think it was a lot of fun. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I put out 2 videos earlier today. But if you have children, make sure you watch the very first video that I put out early this morning, because here in Fairbanks, we have a little town south of us, believe it or not, that's called the North Pole. And in the North Pole, there is what's called the Santa House, and it is open all year long. So they celebrate Christmas there all year long. And this weekend, my family and I went in order to try to beat the rush, because later on, closer to Christmas, it gets very busy there. And it was a lot of fun. And I documented just a little bit of it. But even Santa Claus is there. So go check that video out, especially if you have kids. I think you'll really enjoy it. You'll never see so many Christmas decorations in your life, but there. So take it away, Gray.
Yeah, but I was thinking, have you ever done a live stream with people like on your live stream, like just full live? It's been if you have, it's been a long time.
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Like
Like
done a live
you
stream.
having someone on your channel as a live stream.
You know what? I don't do that very often, Gray, because I am a terrible interviewer. You know, I am. Like, if I wasn't doing this, what I'm doing right now with you, I probably wouldn't be doing it, because you, in my opinion, are an excellent interviewer. And every once in a while, I'm sure that you have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched the last live stream, when I start to get a little bit out of control, Gray pulls me back in.
Like,
So
come
when I
on.
start getting out of control, he fishes me, he reels me back in, and he gets me back to solid ground, right? So I think we make a good team for that. So, but no,
Agreed.
it's been a really long time. I've actually had a lot of people approach me wanting to like come on the channel. I'm like, man, I'm just a terrible interviewer. I really am, and so I rather leave that up to the people that are really good. Like I have Ms. Lynette Zhang, who will come on the channel pretty much any time. Mr. Gregory Manorino, I would love to talk to him, but like I said, I'm just not a great interviewer. And when you and I talk, it's more like just friends talking. And
Right.
like I have absolutely nothing ready right now. There's nothing here, ladies and gentlemen. There's no pre-script. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about today. I can see a couple of little boxes down there behind the StreamYard, but I don't know what they're about. So it's just off the cuff. So and the only reason I can get away to do that with Gray is because we're really comfortable talking with each other. So
Yes, sir, brother.
hey, Gray, this is what you have to understand, Gray. So ladies and gentlemen, Grayman doesn't understand yet that if he gives me a question that requires a yes or a no, then I'm going to give him a 15-minute answer. All right?
Well, for all the folks tuning in, like I said, Rudy has said earlier, we discussed we were going to do this on a Sunday morning basis, and then we got some feedback from our mods and other folks, and we're like, you know what, Monday's probably a better option. So what we're going to be doing is bouncing them back and forth from each other's channels. So like I say, next week we'll be on my channel at Monday at 7 p.m. Monday seems to work a lot better for other folks. Plus, we're not really running into many other issues. If we go a little over or something like that, we're not like really restricted on time constraints. Well, we're going to try to keep it under an hour. But anyways, shall we dive into this, Rudy?
Well, look at who's here.
Oh, look at Becky's in the house, eh?
Becky's in the house.
The wolf.
What's up, Becky?
She's probably,
hey, guess what? So, it's funny that Becky is here. So, in case Eric watches this, I went to the post office today, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm working on a video about our turkey donation to the food bank this year and to the base for Wainwright for the service members. And I actually went to the post office today and I received a big fat check that's going to go to feeding over 100 families for service members. And that's
awesome.
Just for the service members. That's not the turkeys that we're giving to the food bank. So I can't wait to work on that video and show you all how many people we're actually going to be feeding this year. It's pretty awesome, but I just wanted to mention that because Becky was on here and she can pass that on to Eric. For those of you that don't know what nutrient survival is, first of all, it's the very best freeze-dried food and most nutrient-dense freeze-dried food in the world. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, I know this sounds rehearsed, but it's not. They're very good people, and this proves it. $4,000 to feed family members of service members that otherwise may not have been able to eat a Thanksgiving dinner. Can you imagine that, Gray? You're serving your country, right, in the military. And in the military today, there's about 25% of the military that cannot afford to feed their families, that have to actually go to the food bank and that are on SNAP or some kind of welfare or social program because they can't afford to feed the family. That's and here we have all this money to give away to everyone else in the world. But I digress. I'll say it again for like the 5th time. Take it away, Gray.
No, you're fine, brother. It's a beautiful thing. When you talk about stuff like that, it's always inspired me to do things with my channel as well in regards to giving to others that are less fortunate at certain times. And it's great to have a platform that we can do that in and build a community that helps us do that. And just imagine if some of the non-prepping YouTube channels, the people that have like 500 million subscribers, if they had the opportunity, if they could do something like that, how many people that we could help on the world stage or even in the US. I think that's, I just wish people could follow those footsteps. But God bless you, brother. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be grateful for what you're doing for them. So thank you for that. So yeah,
it's a we thing, really it is.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what I always tell people in the community. I'm like, look, it's just not me. It's just not you. There's a lot of folks that are kind of intertwined, and why we do the things that we do. But all right, so just to kick this off, Rudy, you started doing something on your channel that made me think of like, man, that's a great idea. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to steal your idea, but I was like, well, you know what? Being that we're having a show together, we could do this, and kind of I can use some of these things to get your feedback on what you were doing. Basically, you're kind of doing these what would you call, what are they called again? The when you put a video up and you discuss it, what is that called? I can't think of the name.
Oh, man, you're messing me up, man. Let's see, some kind of intel.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
Actionable intel.
Yeah, well, it's like
actionable intel. You know, it's
reaction video, a reaction to video to what people are saying. There we go.
Reaction video to the inflation. Okay, yeah, reaction. Well, you know, I like doing those because I like people to understand that they're not alone. You know, they're not the only ones now that are facing the inflation, because they may not be seeing it right there where they live, but they're definitely not alone. I went to, Gray, you always know that I'm talking about that oil, that olive oil at Costco. And I'm always like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what it is now. I just mentioned that olive oil. It's the Costco 3-liter olive oil that comes in a bottle, in 2 bottles, right? So it's 6 liters altogether. And I've always mentioned that because it's a great gauge to see where we are in inflation, right? And when I first started buying that olive oil, it was $19.99, like $20 for 2 bottles. Well, I did a video a few days back where I showed you that it was now $48.99, right? And that was just a few days ago. I go to Costco today to pick some stuff up. Now it's $49.99. Wow. It's like every week they add another 50 cents, they add another $1. And just not even a week ago that I put that video up where I took a picture of it and showed it, not even a week has gone by and they already added another $1 to it, which comes out to be about, what is that? About 2% in the matter of 1 week. That may not sound like a lot, 2%, but it's in the matter of 1 week, 2%. And in the matter of just the last 2.5 to 3 years, the price of that oil has gone up now by about 150%. So people are not alone. When people see what they're going through as far as inflation goes, you're definitely not alone. And if you can afford to say, well, it's not that bad, then you are very blessed. You should count yourself very blessed.
It's funny you mentioned that. We're going to talk about a little bit of that tonight. But first of all, like I said, I'm going to let you bring up the video, and you can pause it if you need to be, because this is a topic that I've had many discussions with, not only with you and other folks, but like literally I explain to people that taxation of America, I mean, basically I feel it's unconstitutional, in regards to how much taxes and stuff like that it is. It's technically illegal from my perspective.
Right? It's 100% unconstitutional. And the Constitution says that profits are supposed to be taxed. And it was supposed to be just on corporations, their profits. Now, when you go and you work, you are trading your time for currency, for fiat currency, whatever it may be, money. Let's call it money, right? To make it simple. You're trading it. That's not a profit. You're not making a profit off of your labor. You're making an income, and income is not profit. But, when I sit here and say it's unconstitutional, people may say, well, how can they get away with it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, look at how many things the government does nowadays that is 100% unconstitutional, and we still let them get away with it. It's the fiat currency that we use. It's the dollar that we use, the Federal Reserve note. Is that a constitutional money? No, it's not. Constitutional money, as said, I believe it's Section 1, Article 10 or something like that, in the Constitution, that states that money is gold and silver. Right? The definition of $1 is 371.25 grains of fine silver. It's what it says in the Constitution. But we let them get away with printing money out of thin air. And I believe that's called cognitive dissonance. And what that means is that since it kind of works, even though we know it's wrong, it's going to be all right. Like, just let it go, let it get by, right? But look at what's happened now. We've been letting it. We've been playing along, or getting along and playing along, however it is that you say that, for the last 100 years, and now it's time to pay the piper, right? Because we
And it
said,
is.
even though we know it's wrong, that's okay. It's not going to be that bad. Well, now people are finding out just how bad it is. Not only by we losing our wealth through inflation, but also through all of the power that government has gained for all of these decades, that has been stealing our wealth through inflation. Look at where we are now, where the government has a lot of the power, if not most of the power, and here we're stuck with a dollar that can't do anything. And without a good
Agreed.
dollar, without good money, you pretty much don't have very much, to fight back with. Anyways, go on, go on. Do you want me to play
All right.
that video, Gray?
Yeah, because I want you to play the video, and if you want to stop it, stop it. You'll have full control over it. If you want to stop it and talk and discuss it, because this is, I want you. The reason I'm doing this, and I want this came up as a good idea to do on the show, is because I wanted to see your absolute reaction, like your instant reaction to something like this. Not even doing a video, just like right now on the spot. This is your reaction to what this lady is saying.
All right.
So go ahead
Oh,
and
this is the one
run
with
it.
a girl on it.
Correct.
Okay, well, here we go.
Something that doesn't make sense to you, but we encounter it every day. I'll go first. The fact that each of us are not only heavily taxed on our hard-earned paycheck, but we are also taxed on everything that we purchase with that paycheck. And we pay taxes on things that we already own, that we already paid taxes on when we purchased it with our already taxed paycheck. So a large portion of the money that we earn for our labor, skill, and time, we don't even see because it goes towards taxes. And then when we use the remaining money to buy gas or living necessities, we pay even more to taxes with money that was already taxed to begin with. And then the store in which we bought those living necessities from is also taxed on that same money. And finally, the cycle begins again by taxing the employee's paycheck that sold us the goods. And yet, somehow, the entity that receives all of this tax money from every citizen and every business is still over $33 trillion in debt. Confused? Me too.
That ought to wake people up. You know what she was explaining right there, on how the money is used and then it's used and taxed again. That's something that the government really relies on heavily, and that's called the oh my goodness. You know how fast money moves, how
Mhm.
frequently money moves. The faster that money moves, the more taxes has collected on that money. And I mean, I don't have to explain this. I mean, everything she said is 100% correct. And that is that everything that we purchase has already been taxed by someone else, some other entity, and the person that sells it to us has already been taxed. And I mean, it's a never ending thing. It's like a snake eating its own tail. It's called the velocity of money. And
Yeah.
when the velocity of money falls, then there's less tax revenue. And that's one of the things, Gray, that we have to understand about a CBDC, is that with a CBDC, if the velocity of money is too low, guess what they're going to do? They're going to put an interest rate, a negative interest rate on your CBDC credits, meaning that if you don't use it by this date, you're going to end up losing it. So
Wow.
that's one of the things that you have to look out for if we ever have a CBDC, is that you will not have control over what your labor is worth. Because if you don't know what your money is worth, then how do you know what your labor is worth? Think about that. That's what they mean by you will own nothing. Not only will you own nothing, take a look at right now, about 99% of Americans can't even qualify for a house or can't afford a house, right? So you're a renter. We're becoming a renters society where people mostly rent. Now think about if they have a CBDC and they can tell you how much your money is worth by putting negative interest rates on it, or telling you when you can or can't spend it. That to me says that they're telling you how much your labor is worth. Because if you can't spend the money that you labored for, then you don't even own your own labor, if you think about it.
To add to that, Rudy, what is that name of that company that runs the world? It's like not Blackwater, but Black something.
Vanguard or BlackRock?
BlackRock. So I just learned something just the other day. So I have a good friend of mine who does all the processing for the city that I'm in. He does like all the permits and stuff like that. So in this development that they built here, right next to this development is a whole nother development of like, I don't know, 80 to 100 houses. And he says, I'm going to tell you something. He says, and this is between you and I, which, you know, he doesn't watch my channels or our channels, so I don't have to worry about it. But he says, come to find out, the people who paid money for this was BlackRock. He said they own all of that property. He said, I forget how many millions and millions of dollars, but he said, because it's not a homeowner's property, it looks just like the duplication of the houses that we live in here, but they're all rental properties. And he said, BlackRock owns that. He said, they're here in Florida. And I was like, wow, that blew my mind, brother.
In Texas too. In Texas, they also bought they bought like entire development blocks from contractors. They're like, oh, this everything is done. Yep. They just bought the whole thing and never even went on market. So, and you know, I don't understand how it is that we can allow an entity such as BlackRock, who bows their head to a foreign or entity outside the United States, i.e. ESG, SDG, UN, IMF, International Bank, you know, settlements, IBS, who bows to them and not to the American people. To me, that's kind of like the same thing as allowing a foreign company or a foreign nation to own land here in the U.S. Kind of like the same thing. They have absolutely no care what happens to the American people, none whatsoever. You know, I know that this is not what this video today is about. It's pretty much about anything, but you know, when some people say there is no hope, you know, there is no hope. There's no hope for this system by which we are currently governed. The only way that it's going to fix itself is when it finally implodes and we start anew with a new system, hopefully a better and more just system, like maybe like the one that our forefathers or founding fathers left us, you know, a republic. Imagine that, Gray. If we just started out with the same thing that they already left us, we won't have to do anything new. Just do what we were supposed to be doing for the last 246 or so years anyways, and everything will be just fine. But the thing is, too many people are afraid of that. People are afraid of doing the right thing because they know that with it, there will be pain. But the pain that we will endure by doing the right thing is the pain that we deserve to endure for allowing to happen what has happened to our beautiful nation. And I always get people that get triggered when I say something like that. I didn't do it. It wasn't my generation that did it. You know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? We let this happen. When I say we, I mean we the people as a whole. Not any one certain group, not any one certain person. We the people, when we continue to elect politicians that are crooks, that have sold their souls to the devil, literally, when we continue to elect these people and allow them to do the things that they have done to our nation and our countrymen, nothing but for profit, ladies and gentlemen, just for profit, then yes, we have allowed this to happen. And it is we that we will pay the price. But the good news is that on the other side, it's going to be a lot better than it is now because people are going to wake up. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of suffering for people to wake up, and the suffering will come eventually. Well, it is what it is.
What is that old term in the military they use? Embrace the suck.
Yep, embrace the suck. You might as well because it's going to come anyways, right?
Agreed.
Or Foxtrot Mike too. Foxtrot Mike, motivation.
Yeah. God, man, learned a lot of stuff in the military, man. They have some good little, a
lot of good acronyms, right?
Yes, a lot of great acronyms. So moving on from the taxes and some of the conversation that we're having, a lot of folks like yourself and people this winter, it's something that's good that people may be affected by this, and it's our power grid. I wanted to discuss that really quick in this article that I came across in regards to, I really truly hope that people are prepared for possibly a harsh winter. I know Yarn had sent me a picture and she's already gotten snow in Wisconsin, and that's kind of early for them. You know what I mean? And like I said, currently to the predictions of what's going to happen this year, some places like Wisconsin and that Northeast region may get heavy snows, even blizzards or nasty storms. So if you want to, I don't know, if you want to click up the next article and bring that up, I can read the article and then you can give me your opinion on it.
Hey, while you're reading this, I'm gonna step out for about 30 seconds. My phone over there keeps buzzing and stuff, and I'm not sure if you guys are hearing it or not. So I'm gonna put it on low. But let me go ahead and add this.
Roger that. Oh, he disappeared on us. So, hey, the show is mine on Rudy's channel. Anyways, folks, I'll go ahead and read this article, and then Rudy can hear us, and then he'll kind of touch on this. It says, winter is coming, and the U.S. grid remains vulnerable to power plant failures. From winter storms to sweltering summer heat, there's a consensus among experts that increasing extreme weather, a shifting electric generation mix, delays in getting new power generation projects connected, and difficulties in getting new transmission lines and other infrastructure built all pose an increasing risk to the grid. All right. Going on for that, it says, as Aaron Bloom, executive director for Next Extra Energy Transmission LLC, put it, a recent FERC workshop on the matter. The United States is the only macro grid in the world that doesn't have a plan of any type. Indeed, both European Union and China have continental/national scale grid development plans. The United States does not. And this picture down here kind of illustrates the way our grid is kind of sourced. You can see Texas down there kind of sitting there by itself with its own grid. A lot of people familiar with what happened with Texas a couple of years ago. Matter of fact, in the summer, they had discussed the Texas grid, and moving forward into the winter, they're talking about the Texas grid as well. But as you can see how the Texas grid kind of fluctuates, and there's different patterns to this, and how the grid system is set up. And if I recall correctly, I think there's either 13 or 14 major transformers the size of buildings that kind of run the entire grid. And if one of those go down, they have a couple supposedly on standby to replace that. But other than that, those systems are made overseas. And not only that it's made overseas, the fact that it can take 2 to 3 years to produce if they have a major grid failure with several of these units. Not only that is when they ship them over here, because then you have to worry about shipping time to put this piece of equipment on a ship, ship it over the United States. Once it gets here, then you got to move it through the U.S. highway system. And if anybody's ever seen that, they will literally shut down highway systems because they're so large that they take up so much volume of space that it's a situation where they're actually going to stop traffic. It's not even stopping traffic, just blocking things off to get this from point A to point B. Once they do that, then they have to go start working on the installation process. So you can see how if something ever truly happened to some of these major I think they're called transformers. Don't quote me on that. Rudy might have a better explanation of it, but it's just very worrisome. And if you look at if you talk about our power grid in general, the infrastructure itself is on average roughly 50 years old, from our transmission lines to our power stations and things like that. So this is something that if you are in an area that's prone to blizzards, or being snowed in, or ice storms, or just inclement weather like that, hopefully that you have something to, heat yourselves, keep yourself warm, because you don't ever want to repeat the situation that happened down in Texas as young children perished during that situation. Take it from me, buddy. I don't know if you heard me talking.
I'll tell you what, Gray, they're never going to fix that power grid because it's not politically viable. In order for them to do that, and it wouldn't even cost that much money for them to fix this power grid. We're talking about $25-50 billion. Mm-hmm. It may sound like a lot, but it's nothing compared to what they spend now. It's absolutely nothing. And we would have an updated power grid, but it's not politically viable. They'd rather take that money and give it to special interest than to actually do something for the American people. And I mean, I saw someone on here saying that, about what I was talking about before, about how we've elected these people and everything. Well, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, in the past, I believe that we have elected these people in the past and we've come forward to where we are now. But now it doesn't matter who we elect. And that's the thing that people have to understand. That's why you have to get prepared and stay prepared. It no longer, and I know some people would say, well, we're not elected, they're selected and stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all about mathematics. It's about mathematics. Before we started this live stream, I was talking to Gray about our unfunded liabilities and our national debt and the interest and all that stuff. It's all about mathematics, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all about optics. Everyone concentrates on looking at the national debt when it has nothing to do with why we are really impoverished and why we are really taxed to the extreme that we are nowadays. I mean, people don't take a look at the unfunded liabilities, which are in excess of $200 trillion, let alone the $33.7 trillion that we own in national debt is nothing compared to that. People don't take a look at the derivatives that we have. You know, if you don't know what a derivative is, excuse me, if you don't know what a derivative is, I got tongue tied there. Go take a look at the national debt clock and take a look at that one that says derivatives, where it says $600 trillion. Go and check and see what that is. The national debt is nothing. It's mathematics. It doesn't matter who gets elected as far as us falling. We will fall because mathematics does not lie. 2 and 2 will always equals 4. Now, what I have to say is this on that regard of who gets elected. I would rather have someone to be our president that loves this country and get us through the hard times that we're going through, because it's going to take someone that loves this country enough to see his countrymen suffer. Because there are going to be people that will suffer greatly, but it is very difficult for a leader to see his constituents suffer and not help them, because there won't be any help. The government is not going to be able to help the majority of the people for what's coming. And it's why you have to be prepared. It no longer matters, you know, who got elected in the past. It no longer matters. It's mathematics. So, and that's why you have to get prepared. You know, yeah, we all want someone to be elected to be president that loves this country, that will represent this country for what it really is, for what it was really meant to be, you know, as our founding fathers put it. But, ladies and gentlemen, mathematics does not lie. I've often said that whoever's sitting in the big chair, right, in the big seat, it's not that they're going to stop the train from hitting the wall. It's that they're going to be able to dictate how fast the train is going when it hits the wall. Unfortunately, right now, that train is going very fast, right? And we need someone in there to slow it down. That way we can have time to prepare. Imagine how strong the American people would be as a collective should we all be prepared. How much power we would actually have over the government should we all be prepared. But for some reason, people are afraid to take back their sovereignty. And I don't understand why. Maybe it is because some people really want to be taken care of. They really want to give up their sovereignty for that little bit of safety. You know what? I was thinking about this the other day, Gray, when I was collecting my eggs from the chickens, right? I'm like, look at these chickens, you know, and I've used this example before, but chickens are a perfect example, all right? Look at these chickens. They get fed every day. I go in there every day and I make sure they have water. I make sure that the little heater is working in there so they stay warm. I make sure that they have their hay in there. And I make sure that they're fed every single day. So they are very well taken care of, right? But their lives consist of that little chicken coop and the chicken run. And if I feel like it during the summer months, I'll let them roam around the yard. So they are very safe, but they are 100%, I could say in a way, captive, right? They're 100% dependent on me to make sure that they survive. Is that freedom? It's not freedom. It's security. It's security, but it's definitely not freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Now, is that how you want to live your lives? In an open cell, right? It's an open jail cell with all of these rules and regulations that we have to abide by nowadays. Is that how you really want to live your lives? And is that how you really want your children to live their lives going forward? I mean, I personally would not. You know, I personally would rather, what is it? What is the saying, Gray? I would rather live a dangerous life, you know, than to give up my liberty, something like that.
Yeah. It's, you know, I made a joke one time. I don't know if it was if I did it on a stream or not like that, but I thought it was always funny. Like, you know, a lot of people from other countries, they look at the United States and like, you know, they envy the American civilians, as in like, man, they have all the freedom in the world. They can do whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, to an extent, you're right. But it's kind of almost a mirage in a certain aspect, because I've noticed, okay, so in order to leave our country, in order to leave the United States, you still have to get your papers. So it's not like you could just like, hey, I'm bored. I'm going to go where I'm going to go to Europe and hang out for a little bit. You still have to go through a process. And if you don't have the right paperwork, you can't leave this country. I thought that was interesting that you have a license, a driver's license, that you had to get that little, I forget what that little gold star, some sort of new thing that implemented years back in regards to, you had to show your birth certificate and prove all this stuff about, you know, that you're an American citizen, you were born here and all stuff like that. And I can't use my license if I want to go to Canada or Mexico, at least as far as I know. I haven't traveled outside of this country in a long time. So you have to take an additional step, file for a passport, depending on how long that takes, if it's expedited or not, and then you pay the extra money for. And then once you get if you get the passport and you're approved for the passport, they could do all these background checks just to say, okay, sure, now you can go take a vacation to Europe. And it's just like, man, it almost seems like, you know, show me your papers kind of thing, you know. But that's just my perspective and view on it. But
well, you know what? In a way, to tell you the truth, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with a country deciding how they want to let people come into their country. You know, because it's their country. I just wish that our administration would do the same thing. You know, only let those come in here that, you know, that should be coming in here the right way through the front door. So yeah, I mean, you know, if Europe, or if any country in Europe, or if the UK or whoever it is, if they want to make you jump through hoops and barrels and stuff for you to be able to go over there and visit, that's their business. I would just say this: just don't go if you don't agree with it. You know, that's the one muscle that we don't use enough of here in the US. It's the no muscle. Just don't do it. Imagine if every time that something ridiculous happened, like I remember here months ago, maybe close to a year ago, I think it was United Airlines, that they oversold their seats by 4. And they asked this one doctor to give up his seat. And he said, no, I'm a doctor. I'm going back home to my practice. And they asked him again. He said, no. And then they said, no, you have to give up your seat. And they beat this guy out of the airplane. They got their thugs and they beat his ass. I mean, bad. They beat him out of the airplane. Imagine if everyone in the U.S. said, nope, we're not flying. We're not flying for the next month. Man, I'll tell you what, it's just, and the thing is it's never gonna fix itself, because we just cannot come together. They've done, the administration, the powers that be, the rulers, whatever you want to call them, the people that want to rule everything, they've done a great job at keeping us divided. That right there is the most powerful weapon that they can have, is to keep us divided. And I don't know how it is that we've fallen for this for such a long time. Now with social media like this, hopefully people are starting to wake up a little more. You know, hey, JT, what are you doing? Thank you. Oh, goodness.
Hey, Rudy, right underneath that, you got JT down there where it says protected lady. Do you see her comment?
Yes.
I wonder if we should, I wonder if folks, like, if every once in a while we should let people know that this is something that we're going to be doing every week, basically on a Monday.
Every Monday, right? Every Monday at this time. Let's do it.
We'll be and I think it's going to work well at this time frame. But yeah, we just got to keep, like, every once in a while we should probably let people know, hey, next week on Gray's channel, this week on my channel, just to kind of keep people knowing, like, hey, where we're at. Like I did the same thing that you did, is I threw it up in the community tab so everybody knows that we're going to be on your channel this week. So stick with us, folks. At 7 p.m. on Mondays, this is what we're doing. Rudy and Gray.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, as this podcast progresses, we'll do different things. Maybe we'll start doing, like, you know, I don't want to talk ahead. I don't want to put the horse, what is it, the cart ahead of the horse, or the horse ahead of the cart? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyways, I don't want to talk ahead of stuff, but, you know, we'll start doing fun things, like between me and Gray and you all, instead of just between me and you, or Gray and you, between me and Gray and you all, we'll start doing fun things, like maybe a little giveaway here or there, maybe like on our 100th episode or on our 50th episode or something like that. We'll do some stuff that's fun, you know, between us, you know, collaborating between us. So hopefully it'll manifest into something that, you know, continues to be a lot of fun, that will attract more of you to come on here and watch when we do our live stream. And who knows what could happen, ladies and gentlemen. I just know that it's going to be a lot of fun going forward, as it has been for the last 1.5 episodes. This one and the one that we had last time.
All right. So the next thing I had there for you is some people may not know what I'm going to probably mispronounce this word, but aggregated inflation, is that the proper term?
Aggregated, or do you want me to bring up the next thing you got down
Yeah,
there?
go ahead. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
I don't know what it is. Let's see what it says here.
See if I can make that a little bit bigger for you. There we go.
Oh, U.S. inflation rate aggregated. Yeah, I know what that means. That means that, for example, if inflation last year was 10% and this year is 10%, it doesn't mean that next year the aggregated inflation between the last 2 years is 20%. It's more
Right.
than that, so it ends up being a little more than 20%. So it's kind of like the rule of 72. How long is it going to take between inflation is 100% from the time it started? Well, at 10%, it won't take 10 years. It'll take 7.2 years
Right.
before you're paying 100% more than what you started at 10%, year over year. So I believe that's what you mean by the aggregated inflation here, inflation rate.
Right. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is, sometimes I'll have conversation, folks, and people are like, hey, well, inflation's starting to go down a little bit. It was at 9 point something, or it peaked out and it's going down tremendously. I'm like, yeah, but you're not looking at the big picture. As you see on the top one, I have year to date, and then below it, I have over the 3-year mark. And as you see, it's almost a constant stepping up, 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 up. It's like it's not,
Yeah, they
declining
have no
anytime
choice.
soon.
They have to. Inflation, for those that don't understand, is, let me go ahead and remove this for a little bit. There is a difference between inflation and the rate of inflation. Once inflation occurs, it never goes away, right? Inflation is the creation of money, the inflation of the money supply. That's what inflation is. Now, the rate of inflation, the rate at which money is being created, that differs. That can go up and down, and therefore can change one of the symptoms of inflation, which is the price of things going up or down, either via prices, nominally speaking, or via shrinkflation, which is an increase in price, but in the opposite, meaning that you get less for the same price of that product. So, although our inflation rate has gone down since what it was about a year and a half ago, where we were at like 9 point something percent,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're at like 3.7 or 4.2%, something like that. It's gone down. Inflation will never go away, ladies and gentlemen. When you take a look at this chart, or the chart that Gray had up, when you take a look at that chart, you ask yourself, why is it always going up? Well, because it has to go up in order for the financial system by which we are governed today, in order for it to continue. As soon as they cannot continue to add debt to our national debt or our unfunded liabilities, et cetera, the system fails. As soon as the Federal Reserve cannot continue to add debt to the system fails. Why is that? Very simple. We have a debt-based system. Without debt, there is no system. You understand that? We have a debt-based system, which means that without debt, there is no system. So they have to continue to add debt to the system, or else it fails.
Agreed. I see a comment down there. Tranquil Lovely wrote, I don't know if there's a charge for it, but another channel I watch live streams on multiple channels at the same time using StreamYard. It may be something you want to look into, so you don't have to alternate. We are looking into that. We discussed
That's
that.
funny. We were talking about
Yeah.
that right before this live stream. Hey, Gray,
Yeah.
give me a second. Let me say thank you very much to Big Chap. Thank you very much. 100%. I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. 100%. I'll go ahead and add another little quote to that, which I will paraphrase, but it goes something like this. The easiest way to enslave a people is to make them think that they're not enslaved. And
Yeah.
take a look at where we're living today, how easily we've been enslaved by the use of a fiat currency or a paper note. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that paper note is what's keeping us enslaved, because they've made us believe, or at least the majority of us, they've made us believe that that's real money when it is not. The average person nowadays has no idea what real money is. Anyways, let's go
Agreed.
ahead and take it. Fat Man Prepper is in the house. How you doing, Fat Man? According to the current administration, our inflation is only absolutely is only transitory. Well,
Transitory.
the inflation rate is transitory, right? Just like climate change is transitory. Right? They don't tell you that about climate change, but the inflation rate is transitory, but not inflation. Why can't my bills be transitory and go away? One day your bills, fat man, listen, one day your bills will be transitory
Oh,
because they will be inflated away, meaning that we will have so much money in the system that even the nominal dollars that you owe on your bills will be like nothing. Unfortunately, actually. And let's see, McBean, what's up, John? Good to see you. Check your gas generators. Make sure they start. Amen to that. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you have a generator, a gas generator, first and foremost. I'm not sure how many of you have paid attention over the years, but there's two things that I've always said that every family should have in the United States of America, if not everywhere. Every single family in the US should have a generator, a gas generator first. You all know that I love my Opus solar generators. I love them, but I would never have one unless they sent them to me for free, which they did. All right, but just kidding. But I would never have one unless I had a gas generator first. Right, a gas generator, in my opinion, is a lot more important to have first than a solar generator. A solar generator is a great complement to a gas generator. So if you have a gas generator, by all means, go grab a solar generator. And guess what? I'm going to go ahead and plug this into the live stream. Yes, I know I have no shame, ladies and gentlemen. Opus has started their Black Friday sale on solar generators early. Right now, you can go and grab one at awesome price. Every single one of their solar generators is at an awesome price. And they've also reactivated my 10% off coupon code. And it should be in the description of this video, if not the description of my previous video. And their Black Friday sale is actually going to go all the way through Black Friday. So you got time to jump in on the deal. It's just a really great price for a solar generator that, in my opinion, has been proven through the test of time since they've been here. So, and a great company to do business with as well. But anyways, yes, you should have a solar generator because, not solar, a gas generator, because you can control how much gas you can put away. If you want to put away enough gas to last you a month, guess what? You can put away enough gas to last you a month. You can't always control how much sun is going to be shown throughout the day, right? Look at here in Alaska. We don't get that much sun in the wintertime, right? So I always make sure that I have a lot of gasoline put away just in case.
Well, that being said, can I do a shameless plug too, man?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
This is in regards to, I just want to reiterate, I'm trying to get this out there as much as possible because I want to give everyone an opportunity. On my channel, November 21st, if I recall correctly, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing a live stream where we're going to be giving away a lot of stuff. It's going to be my Christmas giveaway. Opus has signed up for it, EcoFlow, Blue Yeti, if you're interested in some of that stuff, as well as several other companies that you may be aware of, like Nutrient Survival and so on and so forth. But I wanted to throw that out there so some folks know that, hey, you might have an opportunity to get something for free because these companies are going to send you whatever you win directly to your doorstep. It doesn't have to go through me. It just goes boom to you. So good luck to everyone who participates in that live stream.
Awesome. Hey, let me go ahead and address this question here, or a comment. Julie Davies says, gas is loud and hard to get. Okay, that's why we prepared, right? I'll have to, no, because there are circumstances where you can't get a gas generator, but I still recommend one. If you can get one, if you live in an apartment building, you're probably going to be able to use one, right? If you live in a very congested area, like in the suburbs or something like that, where the houses are not that far apart, you may not want to use one because they are pretty loud. But when I say that you should have a gas generator first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean for the apocalypse. I don't mean for SHTF. I don't mean for Mad Max. I mean for what happened on February of 2021 in Texas, where many people lost their lives because they froze, because they didn't have a generator to keep the power on in their home. That's what I mean. Preparedness, for the most part, 99.9% of your preparedness plan will be used, if it's used, for regular stuff, for power outages, for hurricanes, tornadoes, etc., etc. It's not going to be used for Mad Max. Let's hope that it never is. There are a few stories out there throughout our history where there has actually been Mad Max and where there has actually been SHTF for people that live there. All right. But let's hope that that's not what we have to use our preps for. If we do, then we do. Great. You have your preps. But when I say we should have a gas generator, That's exactly what I mean. It's for regular everyday stuff. More than likely in your lifetime, you're going to need a generator for something other than because we had an SHTF event. All right. So just keep that in mind when you are preparing, ladies and gentlemen, that more than likely you will be using your preps for just regular everyday stuff that happens to people that maybe are not up on their luck, right? A hurricane, a freeze goes through, and you're the only block. You're the only block in your city that loses electricity. That's happened to me before here, where we were the only little section that's lost electricity for a few hours. Never very long, but you just never know. All right, so that's what I mean about that. It's not for us HTF.
I think I think sometimes people when they watch our channels, they sometimes maybe they don't understand that they think that when we're say prepper, we think we're always talking about doomsday, the end of the world as you know it, and stuff like that. No, we're just talking about everyday occurrences that happen in your life. Like you said, I live in Florida. How many hurricanes do we deal with, or just in general summer storms that knock out power? I mean, I get notifications all the time that all kinds of different areas in my surrounding area are without power for a day. Sometimes even a few hours to a couple of days is still can be detrimental to the food or something that you may have depending on your situation. So why not be prepared? Why not have the tools necessary to make sure that you and your family run through that situation smoothly and comfortably?
Well, look at this, man. Take America Back from Israel says Hobo Freight Predator, which is a generator type, is a quiet generator. It's kind of like a clone of the Honda. And if you all know, hey, what's up? By the way, Take America Back from Israel. How you doing, brother? I haven't seen you in a while. But if you know that the Honda generator is a really nice, quiet generator, but there are many kinds that are like that, that are pretty quiet. I think that my Honda generator runs at about 57 or 58 decibels, something like that, from like 25 feet away, which is very nice. And there are things that you can do to make it even quieter, like putting it in a three-sided building or a building with three walls and a ceiling, with like one wall, nothing covering it. With insulation, that really dampens down whatever noise is making too. So there are things that you can do to quiet down a generator if that's what you have. All right. But again, if you live in an area where you just cannot use a gas generator for whatever reason, then you definitely want to get the biggest solar generator that you can. All right, with some solar panels, and hopefully you can put your solar panels somewhere where it can actually power your generator, right? For that power. So yeah, you definitely want to get one. But that's thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is that electricity, we take it so much for granted that we just don't really know what it's like to go without it for a long time. And a very big motivator is light. Even if you get a small solar generator, let's say, just so that you can keep some LED lights on, that's going to make a very, very big difference, right? In your attitude and your motivation and into what you can get done during that time.
Yes,
Johnny Bethel, how you doing?
Darkness can be very scary for a lot of people, especially young children and the elderly and whatnot. Just having that warm comfort of that light there is truly like it uplifts people in their spirits in regards to going through something serious. I wanted to say infrared survival. I thought about exactly what you said in this comment, and you're absolutely right. It says AP and Gray, two guys living in 100% different environments. What other place to get better info on prepping and survival? Because we're two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is, Gray, is that even though we're on like two opposite ends of the spectrum, our preps are pretty similar. Because
for sure.
What do you have a generator for?
For cooling most of the time.
I have one to make sure that my electricity works so I can keep my heater on in the winter.
Exactly.
So see, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's a very good infrared. It's kind of like for the opposite thing, but kind of like for the same thing. They're both going to do something with temperature, right? So yeah, absolutely. Pretty much, if you have your basic preps, you're going to be able to survive pretty much in any climate. So whereas I want electricity to keep my heater running, Gray wants electricity to keep his cooling running. So just having the basic preps, you're going to be all right. A lot of people think that they have to go out there and get all of the fancy stuff. You don't. Start with your basics and then build on that, but at least get your basics. Get your beans, get your band-aids and your bullets, the 3 B's of prepping. Really, I've added 2 B's to that over the years, but those first 3 B's, in my opinion, are the most important.
Yes, sir. All right. So I wanted to go. So Linda
Oh, you
says, what
got
about
something
us?
else up there. You want me to put up what you got over there?
Yeah, I just see
I
there's
see you
so
got
many
something
comments.
else up there. Let's
Yeah,
see.
so many comments that pop up. This is something we talk about a lot. And whenever I find stuff, I always like to bring it up because things are happening, consistently happening. And this one says food shortage 2024. Well, we're at the end of 2023, and this is what experts predict for a hunger crisis. It says, while there isn't a public emergency, a global food crisis continues. Americans can expect food shortages. And remember, keyword, Americans can expect food shortages in 2024. It may impact availability and prices at local stores. Finding specific items at your local stores can be challenging in today's market. There are also regional shortages due to transportation issues. And this was just a small list where it says of everyday items that stores are running short on, like
Man,
bread.
that's funny, Gray. That's so
Yeah.
funny. I mean, not funny, but it's so true. I'll give you a little insight. So today, my wife and I went shopping for the food bank food hall for Thanksgiving, and we're gonna have to make another trip back because they didn't have any green beans, they didn't have any corn, they
Wow.
didn't have any stuffing. So we're gonna have to go find those things elsewhere so that we can bring it back to the food bank. So I mean, and you just
Wow.
said it. You just said it. And the thing is that unfortunately, for the most part, people are going to wait until it's too late. They're going to wait
Agreed.
until there is a literal crisis at their doorstep before they try to go get prepared, and then it's going to be too late. And then you're gonna, if you're one of those people out there, you'll end up being one of those people that we will be seeing from our computers banging each other over the head with a 50-pound bag of rice or some toilet paper or something, because you're the one that's going to turn into the panic buyer, while we,
Agreed.
the prepared, are going to sit back and watch it unfold on our computers. Unfortunately, but that's why I tell people all the time. I have a feeling that people get sick of me saying you need to get prepared. And the reason I say it so many times is because I never know when it is that there's going to be a viewer watching one of my videos that's a new viewer, that's a new subscriber, that's new to preparedness. I always want to make it a priority to make people understand that they have to get prepared. Is the only thing that's going to save them. It's not going to be the government. What has to I've still yet to have someone tell me what the government is good at that is good for people, right? Because when I ask people what is the government good at, they tell me all the stuff that the government's good at, like war, printing money, taking away liberties, but they don't tell me what government is good at that's good for people, right? That's good for us, the constituents that put them in power. So what makes you think that government's going to be good at feeding you when there's no food? More than likely, the reason that there is no food is because of government, because they interfere with the free market, ladies and gentlemen. So get prepared now. You still have time. I want to go ahead and say, Gray, real quick. I want to say thank you again to Fatman. Thank you, Fatman. I changed my Jenny to propane and gas, says Fatman. Gas for short-term needs, propane for long-term. Also been buying silver shot. Oh, nice. And pouring my own bars. Saves me a little extra money. Outstanding, yes. Propane for long term for sure. Propane is going to last forever. And we also had Michael Eversberg, who has a good question here that I wanted to come to answer. Grayman, oh, it's for you, Grayman. What size liquid propane tank is good for a dual gas generator? And let me go ahead and add to that why. So go ahead and answer that, Grayman, and say why it's good, not just what size is, but why it's good.
Well, here's my reasons for LP gas, and it also depends on your situation. So let's say if someone is just in a regular home, they don't have a 50-gallon tank on the side of their house or a 100-gallon tank or whatever it may be. But for me, let's say just for an average person, the 5-gallon propane tanks come in super handy. So I store those, and the reason I store those is because it's so much easier to store propane than gas. At least that's how I look at it. Propane is a lot much more easier to store than gas. It's as far as I know, I have propane tanks that I've had. Matter of fact, if I walked over there, I could look at the dates, but I think they're at least 7, 8 years old. Just every time I see one that someone's either getting rid of, I check it, make sure if it's functional, if it's working, I get it tested, and if it's good, I take it and I get it filled because it's cheaper to do it that way. So I like to collect them if people throw them away, because some people feel like they're just one and done. I don't know why they think that, but all in all, the longevity of keeping that, the storage capabilities for propane, and the let me see, what else did I say? I can't remember. I lost my train of thought, Rudy.
Well, you said it lasts forever, pretty
Yeah,
much. And you
pretty
said
much.
that the best size to keep is the 5 gallon.
And the reason I say that is because most people, depending on where you live, if you live in a development where you're, let's say, an HOA or an apartment or something like that, or anything that's going to be restrictive, you can't have a 50 or 100 gallon tank. I'm pretty sure, like you, Rudy, you might have a big tank on the side of the house because of where you live,
Yeah.
but the average person, storing the
Yeah, I mean,
5 gallon.
it's all contingent on where you live, on what
Right.
your
So,
capabilities
like,
are. Now, what I would add to that is it depends, because Michael asked also what size is a good size. It also depends on what size your generator is. If you have like a big generator, like the
oh, good
Furman
point.
that I
Yeah.
have, it's the 8,500 watt generator, big generator, big enough to run 2 houses. I would not want to hook up a 5 gallon tank to that because it will be using the propane at a high rate, meaning
Right.
that it will probably end up freezing the line, right? So whenever you extract propane from a propane tank really fast, it kind of like tends to freeze that line. So if you're going to be using a big generator that needs propane, you're better off using a bigger tank, preferably like a 40 or a 40 pound tank, or even a 100-pound tank, right? The little tanks, the 5 gallon tanks, will probably freeze up on you. So it does depend on what size generator you have. It depends on how fast you're going to be running your generator, meaning how much power you're going to be consuming from it as well. Because propane does produce less BTU than gasoline also. I
Correct.
think that the best thing to do is just keep a combination of both. Like Grace said, propane will last forever as long as the tank is serviceable. It will last forever. Gasoline, you have to rotate that out, and depending on whether you added a additive to it, will depend on how often you have to rotate it out. And it seems to be gasoline. Not does it seem to be, it is. It's more, easily flammable. It's more volatile
Right.
than LP is. So you just have to take those things into consideration. Me, I like to have a combination of both. I have enough gasoline put away where I can run my house for an entire month using a combination of a generator and a solar generator if we have no sun. So if we have a power outage in Alaska, here where I live, during the winter where we have no sun for solar, I can run my house for an entire month using a small gas generator and my solar generators that I have, charging them with gas. And that's with less than 30 gallons of gasoline. So, like I said, a solar generator is a very big complement to a gas generator, vice versa.
And it's exactly what you said is everything is contingent on what you're trying to do. A lot of people always ask me, like, well, what size solar generator should I get? Well, it's contingent
Right.
on what you're trying to specifically run.
I would
So
say, you know what, great, it's 100% what you're saying. But what I
mhm.
would say with a solar generator is I would say that the bigger, the better, or the bigger that you can afford, the better. It's because it's the more power with a solar generator, worst case scenario, you're only going to have that one charge.
Mhm.
I'm talking about worst case scenario where
Agreed.
maybe you can't get solar. Maybe your solar panels, there's not enough sun for you. So you're going to have that one charge. So the biggest that you can afford, or the more watt hours that you can afford, not necessarily the biggest. Because if I were to recommend someone to buy a solar generator from Opus, I would say that if you wanted to get 10,000 watt hours, let's say for example, instead of recommending a Mega 5 with an additional battery, which is 10,000 watt hours, I would instead recommend that you buy 4 2400s, which gives you about 10,000 watt hours, but it gives you a lot more versatility. You know what I mean? So I would say that when it comes to a solar generator, get as many watt hours as you can afford, because for the worst case scenario, at least you know exactly what you have.
You're exactly right, because when I look at my setup here in my house, I have a solar generator sitting on top of my refrigerator. I have a solar generator sitting over here by my hot, my deep freezer, solar
That's
generator
funny.
in the pantry, because if you have like a Mega 5 or even some of the larger units, they're kind of like, you can't move them around unless you're running cords everywhere. But I think having that makes sense, having a multiple 2400s, because then you can have them in different position in different spots. And then if you have additional batteries, that's even better. And I know it gets costly, folks, but if you have the finances to do something like that, these things are going to last you quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, the Mega 5 that I have, right? That one I can hook up to my entire house.
And that's
so
awesome.
if you have a setup like that where you can actually hook up a solar generator that's of large capacity to your entire house, that's great, right? But if you don't, and you want to be a little more versatile and have a little bit of what do you call it when you have more than one, Ray?
What do you mean
Redundancy.
Oh, redundancies.
Yeah,
you always want to have redundancies.
Then it's always
and
a good
everything you do in
idea to
life.
go that way. Yeah, it's always a good idea to have something, that if something breaks down, you drop it or you spill water on it or whatever, you still have three more. But it really is up to you in the end as far as what you get because of how it's going to suit your need personally. It's so difficult to try to pinpoint what any individual should have because everyone is so different. Everyone is just different.
Yeah, we all have different needs for different situations, and we all have also different financial situations. So, because I know when I first before I got on YouTube, I first bought my first God, I can't remember. I think it was a Blue Yeti, and I had to wait till I got my income taxes just to buy the thing. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't in a good position, but I wanted something for basically for just some redundant power for when we get power outages and whatnot.
You know what's funny, Gray? I was looking at my very first solar generator that I ever bought. That I actually bought, and it was from Sam's Club, and that was the Go Zero Yeti 1000. And I'm looking at it now, and I remember what I paid for it, and I remember how much I have into that system, and then I take a look at its capabilities, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, this thing is such a dinosaur, but it still works. It still works, so I'm not getting rid of it. And plus, it was my very first solar generator, so I'm kind of attached to that thing. But solar generators have come such a long way. Like I probably have about $4,000 into that Blue Eddy, and it's got a total of like 5,000 watt hours of energy, and it can only give me 1,000 watts output at a time. That's it. So like, man, 1,000 for that money that I spent on that, I can probably buy me like 2 Mega 5s. Oh goodness. So it's funny, but we're pretty lucky that at least the solar generator industry has been allowed to compete. That hasn't been restricted out of competition, with restrictions and regulations and stuff like that. And they've been allowed to compete because what we've ended up getting is a much better product, as far as solar generators go, at a much better price. And you're allowed to pick and choose what it is that you want to give up for something else. Like, for example, Opus is not the number one solar generator brand in the world. There are ones that have been around a lot longer, right? That I would say are higher quality. However, what Opus does is, to me, it's kind of like the power horse solar generator in the industry. They're really hardy, and they give you exactly what they tell you they give you. If they tell you that you're going to be able to run 4,000 watts continuous, you're going to be able to run 4,000 watts continuous. It might be a little bit rough around the edges, but it will give you exactly what it said it was going to give you at a really good price. And that's what I like about them, because they're rugged, they last, they give you what they're going to give you, but at a really good price. And you have that choice. If you want, you can go get something that's a lot more expensive, that's really refined, that's really pretty to look at and all that kind of stuff, but you're just going to pay more for it. But it just depends on what it is that you personally are looking for and want. Let me say thank you very much, Old Mutt. Good to see you. Showed wife how to use the Jackery 3000 power. Awesome. And the Jackery is a solar generator that has evaded me for a very long time because it will not ship to Alaska for some reason. I've gotten so many emails from like Jackery and Blue Eddy, and then when they see my zip code, they're like, oh no, it's going to cost me a lot of money to ship this to you. Maybe we'll go ahead and send it to someone else. And I can't blame them. I can't blame them for sending it to someone else.
I saw someone, I think it was Val. Where did that go? She said, I have a wood stove, but I need a fan for the top. Any recommendations? And what are those things called? Those heat sink fans that you just put on top of your wood stove, which it doesn't require
Where is
any
it? Just a
power at
second.
all.
I think I have one here. Just a second.
Yeah, because you can, if you have a Mr. Heater, I think it's called a buddy heater, whatever it's called, you can use them for that too. They're very inexpensive, at least from my perspective. But it requires no power. So I think that it works off the heat rising from your stove, and it spins that. It's God, what was that little toy that you used to be able to use? You put a little candle and the thing would spin around.
You know what? I think I left it in the house in my backup stove. I think it's called induction or something like that. I'm not sure,
something
but
like
just
that.
take a look at Amazon. I think I have it on my Amazon storefront, and they're not that expensive. They're like maybe $20-$30, but they work pretty well. It's just the heat of the stove makes it spin around, and it actually produces electricity. You know how it works, Gray? So do you have like a propane heater?
Yeah, the Mr. Was it the buddy
Yeah,
heater, Mr.
something
Heater?
like that. So
Yeah.
the it's not the thermocouple, it's the thermopile. The thermopile, I believe, is what allows the spark to no, it's what gives the stove the energy to open up the gas. I forget what it's called, but if you have like an LP stove or something, or an LP heater that has an automatic thermostat that will actually turn on its own when the pilot is on, when it reaches a certain temperature, then there's something in there called, I believe it's a thermopile, and that thermopile is always heated. All right, the pilot is always hitting it, because as soon as the thermostat shows that the temperature is low enough, it sends a signal to that thermopile, and since that thermopile is really hot, it produces just enough electricity to open up that little lever that allows the gas to freely flow. Right, and I believe that's the same concept behind that little fan, is that when it gets hot on top of your stove, I think it has to be at least 180 degrees or something like that.
Mhm.
It actually produces a very slight current of electricity from the heat, and it makes it turn around. But they're not that expensive, and they do work pretty well. I have one. I used to keep it back here for my LP direct vent heater, but I think I have it in the house. But
Yeah, because I don't have a use for heaters very often, but I end up getting one because I have the little buddy heater, and I've rigged it up so when it sits there and the heat comes up, it blows it, because sometimes you want to aerate the room a little bit quicker, you know what I mean, and make the heat more efficient. Because if it gets down 60 degrees, my wife thinks it's freezing. So just saying.
wow, so South Korea just banned short selling stocks. That'll be
Wow,
interesting. Isn't that something right there? Man.
that is very interesting.
Hey, Gray, what do you say that we do you still have a few minutes to hang out?
I got time. That's
Okay,
why I picked
what do you
Mondays.
say that we take the next few minutes to just answer a couple of questions from the community members here?
Yeah, I'm game for that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like, maybe we can make this the ending of our show. We try to keep it to about an hour, but you all know me. I really can't keep it to an hour. I have to talk. So maybe we can always end it up with 15, 20 minutes or so, whatever time it is that we have at the end of the live streams, to maybe answer a few questions. So what we'll do is if you have a question or a comment that you want to share with the audience here, go ahead and put it in all caps. Okay, and we'll try to catch it, try our best to catch it. And if you see one, Gray, that I miss, then just read it out and answer the question.
Roger
Because
that.
you obviously don't have. We're going to try to figure out how we can do the double stream at the same time. That way we can both be able to control this. Okay, but give us time, ladies and gentlemen. We just started doing this. This is show number 2, episode number 2.
It's definitely an evolving thing. And like I said, we are always interested in what you, the viewers, have to say in regards to the shows that we do. And, we like to take suggestions and kind of incorporate them. At least I feel that's something that, we look at, because without the viewers, we don't exist, Question, comment.
We are looking.
I got 3 screens, so I'm kind of bouncing around. If anybody ever wonders why my head's always on a swivel, so I got 3 screens that I'm looking at. And let me see. There's a paint bucket. It fits in my buddy heater. That fan fits on the top. You can heat. Sunset. Yeah, you're actually right. Do you think Gaga was sold? I don't know what that means, Tammy Harder. Do you think Gaga was
Hey,
sold?
T Hobbs. Hey, T Hobbs, can you go ahead and send me an email and forward me that email that you say there?
Mm.
I'm going to see if I can help you out, because if this is what actually happened, I don't approve. So go ahead, and if you like, you don't have to. If you like, please send me an email and forward me that email with that 50% off, and please send it to me. And I'm going to try to help you out if you want me to. Okay, because I don't approve of that whatsoever. If the offer was made to you, it should be honored 100%.
Tammy Davy says, I don't know this gray dude, but I live in Florida. Info. uh, but yeah, the channel. I mean, I think Yarn's been putting it up, and a few other of the moderators have put my link to my channel.
What
and
oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're not subscribed to Grayman, go to Grayman Prepping and subscribe to his channel. That way you won't miss the next live stream with Grayman and myself. All right, so yeah, absolutely go do that. What is this? Do you know what this means, Gray? Do you think Gaga was sold? What's Gaga?
I don't know, unless they're talking about Gaza. I don't know. If they could redo that question.
Oh,
One thing I see a lot of people were talking about before we pick up the next question is everybody's talking about their solar generators, and they were talking about battery chemistry. You know, from lithium ion to phosphate. You know, lithium iron phosphate and a bunch of other
yeah,
differences. And I know me and you, a company just reached out to me. I think you're familiar with the company Dabson.
Dabson, yeah.
Yeah, they're promoting their new product that has a battery that you can drill through it without any explosions or chemicals and happen like that. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. It's like an EV type of battery.
Yeah, it's a solid state lithium ion.
Yeah,
The
there you
only
go.
one of the downfalls of it is that it only provides you with about 1,500 life cycles, unlike the LiFePO 4, which goes. I've seen it anywhere from 2,500 all the way to like 4,000 charge discharge cycles. So what I would say with the solid state batteries that they're coming out with now, I would say give it a little bit of time and see what happens. It's just like when they come out with a new engine. Look at that Toyota, the Toyota Tundra, how they ruined it, in my opinion. You know,
Agreed.
the old Toyota Tundras used to come with a 5.7 liter V8. It's an engine that has been proven through the test of time, not 1 year, not 2 years, but decades. Outstanding engine. So what do? Oh, okay, Mr. ESG, Mr. United Nations, let me bow down to you and kiss your feet. Let me put a double turbo, I believe it's 4.6 liter engine in it that will wear out a lot faster than a 4.8. All right, that double turbo will destroy that engine. So they go ahead and do that. So I'm not going to even touch a Toyota Tundra that's 2022 and newer for years and years and years, if I ever do, just because of that new engine they put on it. Same thing with this new technology they got coming out with solid state. It is supposed to be a very, very safe battery. Like Gray said, you can drill through it, and not only does it not catch on fire, but it will continue to work. It will
Agreed.
actually continue to provide you with energy, right? So yeah, yeah.
So I see two questions. One I'm going to answer, and one I'll have you answer if you like. Is
Sure.
Archie's Ghost wrote, "What size generator could power a small space heater?" And the reason I wanted to touch on that one is because a lot of the tests that I've done with the generators the solar generators that I use
Oh,
a
solar
space heater.
generators. Is that what they meant? Solar generators?
Yeah, solar generator.
Oh, okay.
Because it's such a high draw. The little space heater I have pulls anywhere from 12 to 1,500 watts.
Yeah.
And like I said, it can put a heavy drain on it. So it's when you say what size, it's like Rudy said, the bigger the better that you can afford, because you're going to get more watt hours out of that. So you have to do the equation for that. But I use a space heater to test mine because it's a good to see how a space heater reacts to the generate you have. Like I've used a 2,000 watt power station one time, and I might get maybe an hour out of it. That's it, out of that generator specifically.
Yeah. So for people that are wondering, like, how would they go about a real emergency? Let's say you have a real emergency. Let me just use me for example. Let's say it's negative 30 degrees outside. Okay. and in the middle of winter, right? And we lose electricity, and I'm like, man, we're gonna lose electricity forever. It's never coming back on. So, what am I going to do? Use up all my resources to keep my house warm? More than likely, if that was the case, and I had that forward knowledge that the electricity is never ever coming back on, right? We would be living here in the bunker, right? And I actually did an experiment in the bunker, and I won't talk about the experiment that I did with candles. You can actually find that if you want to watch that video that I did, where it was negative 26 degrees outside, and I actually was able to keep the bunker heated to like 60 degrees Fahrenheit using candles. But I actually did an experiment here not too long ago using this guy right here, the Mega 3. And the Mega 3, I kept my bunker at about 60 degrees. I think it lasted about 5 hours with the small heater that I have here, electric heater. So if you're looking to keep a small space heated in a big emergency for like 5 hours or so, the Mega 3 will do the job, and the Mega 5 will also. However, I would never, recommend that you use a solar generator to heat a space unless it was the most dire of circumstances. The only reason I did that little experiment, which I still have put away, I haven't really talked about it on camera. The reason I did it was I wanted to see how efficient the solar generator was. And it was extremely efficient. It was more than 90% efficient, believe it or not. But I would never recommend that you do that on a regular basis. I would recommend that you have, like I said, I've heated this space here, which is about 120 something square feet. I've heated it with candles at negative 26 degrees. These are the things that you have to look at. What's the best option for you? Instead of using a space heater with a solar generator, use your solar generator to keep the lights on, to do if you have a CPAP, if you have a small refrigerator, or to run your household refrigerator, do it for things like that. But as far as keeping warm, there's so many other options out there that you can use to keep warm in the wintertime than to use a solar generator. But you can use a solar generator in the most dire circumstances to keep, a small space heated if you have to.
I said, didn't you
There
do
you
a
go,
review?
there you go. That's it. That's the one
Yeah.
I think I used 3 of those. I think it was 3 of those that I used at the same time. And it kept this area at about 60 degrees when it was 26 degrees below zero outside.
Yeah, because I like the beeswax candles that you can get for that longevity. I mean,
Yeah.
it got so hot. The other one that I tested, you can actually cook something on here. It's crazy for a little thing like this. And these are pretty cheap.
A pot of rice. You can cook a pot of rice on there.
Yeah, very, very useful and very cheap. You know what I mean? For
And
what you're getting.
also an Aladdin lantern. An Aladdin lantern, man, that the heat coming out of the flue on that lantern is coming out at like 800 degrees. I mean, that will keep this space warm also.
You always have to look at what's going to be the most cost-effective and efficient way to heat yourself. And it's like you said, if you look at a space heater, the draw on a space heater is going to just basically drain your battery so quickly compared to some of the other stuff that might be more important than a refrigerator, freezer, or other lights and whatnot.
Yeah. So, Dale, how you doing, Dale? Dale asked, why did I get rid of my freeze dryer? I paid it forward. I really have freeze dried enough meat, Dale, where I've got no more room. That's a very good problem, right? I just don't have any more room to put stuff away, and I am not going to turn my house into a pantry, right? I have a pantry for that, right? And I have storage for that. I'm not going to turn my house into a pantry where I'm keeping preps and food in my living area. I won't do that. So I ran out of room. I've got all the meat that I can possibly use for at least a year or two. All right. And my family as well. So what I did is I paid it forward to a good friend of mine, and now they get to use it to, process whatever they want to process, i.e. freeze dry. And then hopefully once they're done with it, they can pay it forward to someone else that they know that needs it. So that's what I did with it. I didn't get rid of it because I didn't like it or anything. I got rid of it because it did a great job, and I got everything done in the 2.5 years that I owned it.
I'm looking for something real fast. I'll be right there.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
I've got some. I'll put it in chat. Let me see. Copy. So for you folks, I saw some of you folks like Amazing Grandma ask about that, about this here. I put a link in the chat if you guys want to take a look at it, but will that work, me putting a link in your chat? I don't know.
I don't know. We have to, just a second. If my moderators are looking at it, let me answer this question real quick. The Energy Solar Power Station, Danielle, I think it's a good power station. I've never reviewed it because they won't ship it up here. And if I buy it, they will ship it up here without a warranty. So I'm not going to pay all that money for something that won't even bring a warranty. If they send it to me at no cost, I'll review it. But I'm not going to buy it without having a warranty for it. All right. But from everything I've seen about it, I think it's a good power station. Right? I just can't say it from firsthand experience. Now, Grayman, did you say that you put your link up there?
Yeah, it's a dead link because I'm thinking I'm on my channel, so it'll just post. But I don't know if the mods can copy and paste that or not. I don't know.
I'm trying to look for your post.
Here, I'm gonna on StreamYard. I can put it right here. And
Go
if you
ahead
want,
okay, yeah,
in the private chat, and then you can also, if you want to, you can post it. It's just an Amazon link to what I'm talking about. But they wanted to know the name of it, and Rudy's done a review on this. If I get it to focus on that. But that's the it's a UCO. It's called the Candelier, is what we're talking about. Some folks had asked about it, but I know for sure Rudy's done a review on it. I ponder doing a review, but I just buy things that I like. Thank you, Big Chap. Thanks, Dale.
There's the link right there.
Yeah, it's if you guys want to, you guys can see it, and they come in different colors. Rudy, do you just have the silver or the greens? I don't know. They come in multiple colors. You can also get different.
The color's the color, but those little lanterns, they were great. I love those things. The only thing it's gonna be is that the candles are a little bit pricey. Mm-hmm. They come out to be like $1.20 or something like that each candle, but they'll last you a pretty long time. All right, and you'll be really glad that you have it if you really need it, and you can actually use that to cook a pot of rice. Tell you the truth. That's how hot it gets. So just be careful with it. If you are using it, don't ever leave it alone if you're going to leave the room or anything like that. But yeah, I recommend those highly. I think they're great.
Yeah, anything with open flame, you always want to make sure that you don't leave that by itself. Things bad can happen. Even if you think, you might have a dog or a cat or something, and then things go south. You know what I mean?
Okay, let's see.
McBean says he has one, and it heats the bathroom quite nice. You see any other comments?
Well, no, T Hobbs has to. No, T Hobbs, what I mean is that if you were offered a coupon for 50% off and you wanted to buy another Mega 5 and they didn't specify to you that you had to buy if you got a coupon, man, it should be honored. If they offered you a coupon, I don't care if they offered you a coupon for 50% off an F14. If you want to buy the F14 at 50% off, you should be able to buy the F14 at 50% off. That's my point. My point is that if you're offered something, to me, it's kind of like a handshake. So if you do have that and you're still wanting it, let me know. We'll see if we can work something out. I'll contact my rep or whatever it is. But I don't like to hear that, especially coming from Opus, because I think that they're a great company, But I'm glad that you at least have one of the Mega 5s, though. That's awesome. Those Mega 5s are pretty incredible. I mean, that thing is
beast.
That thing is just a powerhouse. For the price, you can't beat it. You really can't.
I see a question. Where was it? Where did it go? Maybe Santa will bring you a UCO. It says D-Mark says, do you guys hunt moose or boar? I don't know if Rudy hunts. Here in my area, I hunt. We hunt boar, as well as alligators and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, if I ever needed to hunt, all I would do is just go out and wait in my backyard.
Right. I mean, you had a moose in your backyard just not too long ago.
We had a huge moose in our front yard here next to my Suburban, and we just saw a couple of moose today. My wife actually saw a porcupine today. She took a picture of it. I've never seen a porcupine, and you know what? From what I understand, porcupine are really good eating. Not too many people know that. So at least we have porcupine around here. I'm more excited about having porcupine around here than having moose.
Rudy, this is the second time I've seen this question pop up. So
What's that?
Elizabeth Marby says, any suggestions for solar generators to run our well pump?
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Well, it requires a 240, right? I'm assuming that your well pump requires a 240, right? And that's too easy. Just, I mean, Gray, I hate saying just get an Opus because the Mega 3 and the Mega 5 comes with a 30 amp outlet.
Well, I can kind of. I have a Mega 3 still in the box that just showed up on my doorstep today, so there will be a review coming really soon. So you can see how Rudy did his review, and then if you want, you're more than welcome to watch mine as well.
Yeah, but I mean, what I would recommend is this is what I would recommend because it's very easy and it's universal. When I used to live in Michigan a very long time ago, we used to have a well. We used to have a private well for our house, and it used to run off of 110. It had a shallow well pump though. It wasn't a really deep well. It was only like 50 feet or something like that. So it used to have a 110 electrical need. So if you have a well that you can convert to a 110, I would convert it to a 110, or at least have the ability to convert it should something happen where you had to power it on a regular basis with a 110 appliance, like a solar generator that's not that big, that you can hook it up to the AC outlet on a solar generator. So you can do that as well. But there are solar generators out there that will do 240, all right, 240 volts. So that's just what you have to find.
I've seen those. I guess this is for something different. Apply. See, I don't have a well, so I never had to deal with that situation. Eventually, I will. Those solar pumps on generator on wells or whatnot, solar pumps or something like that. Have you ever heard of those?
Oh, a solar? Yeah, I've heard of those, but I've just never really dealt with them. I've never dealt with them. A solar, like a solar panel that actually runs your generator pump. I mean, your well pump. Yeah, I've heard of those. I've just never dealt with them.
Me either. I'm hopefully one day I'll get to experiment with something like that because I'm curious how things like that work. Is the more off grid, the better I can get.
So this is a good question. And this is a question that not too many people ask. What was the extension cord size for generators? So what I would recommend is that whenever you're dealing with with extension cords, I would recommend that you get one that that is at least 20 amps, that can carry at least 20 amps, which is about 2,400 watts, all right, going through that power cord. And the reason is because usually your biggest household appliances, without talking, not talking about like the dryer, your clothes dryer, your biggest household appliances aren't going to go over 2,400 watts. Okay, so that means that if you're ever going to run anything off of a generator to your house, you're always going to be covered if you use a 20 amp power cord. Now, your garden variety power cord used to be 15 amps, 1,800 watts. But now when you go to the store to buy a power cord, they have them as small as 13 amps, which is only like 1,400 or 1,600 watts. So I would say get the thickest, best power cord that you can. I prefer something that's at least 12 or 10 gauge. 12 or 10 gauge will give you 20 amps, depending on how long the power cord is. There is a small scale that you can look up on the internet that tell you how long a power cord you can have, and it will be safe for 10 amps or 12, for 13 or 15 or 20 amps. So just look up that little scale on the internet. It is very easy. It tells you, hey, if your power cord is 10 gauge and it's 100 feet, it's only going to be good for 15 amps for 1,800 watts. If it's only 25 feet, it'll be good for 20 amps for 2,400 watts, etc. So all you got to do is just look that up. But I would always get the biggest and thickest that you can. It's just going to be safer in the long run. You don't have to do a lot of thinking that way.
Yeah, you don't want to. I made that mistake a long time ago, man, when I didn't know what I was doing and just using a regular extension cord, and the thing got so hot it started melting. So now they cost a little, they cost a little bit more money, but you want to get like Rudy says, the thickest possible. Because I even use a specialized hub now to run my major cord to, and then I run the bigger cords out from that just to kind of, if I need to get cords running this way and that way. And I think that it's like a 50 amp or something like that. But You always want to make sure, when a situation arises, you don't want to create more situations for you to deal with. You want to make sure that you're prepared and educated on what you're using and how to use it. Use metal surge protect cord. Only plastic one catches fire.
I think Lori there is talking about the little fans, the non-electric fans for the wood stoves. You can get them at Lehman's. Lehman Hardware sells them. I got mine off of Amazon a few years back, so
yeah,
I
I've
know
seen them
they
on.
have them there. But
I've seen them
Lehman's
on
has them
as
too.
well.
I guess if that's new.
I appreciate that, Stormy.
Minuteman says my electric water heater uses 4,000 watts. Wow. I would never power an electric water heater with my oldest solar generator. We have to be getting it would have to be like in the middle of summer where we're getting like 21 hours of sunlight for me to even think about heating water in my solar generator. If the situation ever came where we had no power, where it was grid down situation, but yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, my water heater is one that I installed myself, and it only uses 15 amps, so it's awesome. It's only 18 gallons, which is great. With 18-gallon water heater, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to worry about your teenage child taking a 2-hour long bath or shower. Let's see.
That's because Elsie in Florida had asked me a question in regards to asking me if I have the well that my house runs off city water, which is good and bad. You know what I mean? But I do have a well that basically runs irrigation and hose water and all that stuff like that. There's a pump that sits over there back there that makes a lot of noise, so I always shut it off for the live stream. So it's not like I don't have a well. I just don't have a well for drinking water specifically. Now in my old house, that's the water we used was well water, and I had a pump specifically for that because a lot of people who live in Florida are familiar with the well water because it stinks really bad. You got to use salt to kind of smooth it out.
Sulfur.
But reverse osmosis is the way to go, man.
Every darn house in the country should have a reverse osmosis system. But there's still a lot of people not going to get one until it's too late. And well, let me take that back. Every house in the nation ought to have a water filtration system, because it's not only a reverse osmosis system; it can also be like a Berkey. I've never heard, this controversy that was going on with the Berkey and all that kind of stuff. I've never, besides that one video that I think I remember watching about the people saying that Berkey this, Berkey that, I never ever heard anything bad about the Berkey. Never ever. Except for one maybe two videos that came out. So me personally, I have Berkey parts. I don't have the actual, what do you call it? The stainless steel, part. I have the interior parts, right? I'm actually going to be reviewing a water filtration system from Simpure that's a gravity fed one. But I've never heard anything bad about the Berkey. So if you want to go with a Berkey instead of getting an RO system, by all means, as long as you're doing something to make sure that the water that you're drinking is clean, that it's not full of forever chemicals, that it's not full of microplastics. Even bottled water has been found to have microplastics in it. I believe it's like 90% of the bottled water in the US has been found to have microplastics in it. 93% of the tap water in the US has been found to have microplastics in it. And people still won't get an RO system or water filtration system, but they'll go and spend $3 a day on bottled water at the gas station. It doesn't make sense, Gray. I think the world has gone nuts. And having said that, what do you think? I think it's about time to close it out.
How long? What time is it? Oh, we've been on an hour and a half.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Oh wow! Holy cow! Oh man, I see everything. Yeah, I think we had a good conversation, folks. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And like I said, this is something that me and Rudy are going to continue to do. Even if we're just talking to each other. So we might as well do it live.
There you go. All right, man. So hey, great having everyone here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in. This is a lot of fun. For me, it is. I hope that you're all having fun here with us as well. Thank you very much for all of your support. Thank you, Gray, for joining in. We're going to be
Always.
doing this again 1 week from today on Gray Man's channel, and hopefully by then we'll be able to figure out how to syndicate it to both of our channels at the same time. But
Yes.
we'll work on that slow and steady. We'll try to make it something that's special for all of you. So thank you very much for joining in. Any last words, Gray?
Other than that, man, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time and hanging out with us. And like I said, if we missed any of your questions, save them for the next live stream. We'll try to keep that in mind to do some Q&As towards the end of the live stream. Maybe it's something that didn't pertain to the topics we're in, but you just had a question that you wanted to ask someone regards to something that you're interested in. So we'll try to keep that in mind, and we'll have some fun. Other than that, again, God bless every single one of you folks out there, and be safe and stay prepared.
All right, and we're going to go with an outro that is very similar. Well, it's the exact same as the intro. I love this intro. All props goes to Gray Man. He's the one that developed this intro, but I just love it. So guess what? Not only is it our intro, but it is now also our outro. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. This crazy guy over here, where is he? That there is Gray Man Prepping. We'll see you all next time. God bless you all.